Alright, welcome back to the channel. Sorry about missing half of my head. But today's video is about this lot. So, I don't know how many of you have seen this in the background in the videos before, but I've got a nice old 5 carousel CD player here with a amplifier just here, and these two are old TV speakers, and that's nice little audio setup. It worked quite well, sounds good. But it's just taking up a bit of space in the workshop here, and when I'm in here most of the time I'm doing this, so I can't have the music going anyway, because then I'll get a copyright strike. So what I figured I'd do is repurpose the speakers and use just an old car stereo, and I'll just hang it from the ceiling sort of up around there somewhere. But I figured I'd better plug all this together and see if it works, and see if it makes some noise, and then figure out how I'm going to mount the speakers up on the ceiling, basically. Alright, so these two speakers are just out of a is it a Sony or a Panasonic? I think it's a Panasonic television. So the speakers are actually only this little bit here, but then this whole airbox part gives a nice, slightly better bass response with these plastic bits up here. Clearly I've done some stuff with these because I've taken screws out for some reason. I thought they were speakers. But I've just got these screwed back in here just to hold them in place, and they work okay, so I'll probably just find some screws and screw it back up again just to fully seal the cabinet. Obviously I did pull it apart because I put this wiring in here instead of the standard speaker wire that was in the box when I pulled it out of the TV. I mean, obviously, you know, they're not big DOOF DOOF speakers, but they're okay. Not hardly going to be having a concert in here. It's too small a room for that. So I'll figure out how much cable I need for those. I'll hook it up. And this is just a Pioneer stereo system that, again, was rescued from a rubbish pile. I guess I'll just cut all the wiring back and see if it goes. And I won't worry about doing connection kits and stuff like that, wiring looms that you can get for your car. I'm just going to do a cut and shunt on all these because I can, and it's, as I said, it's not going into a car or anything, it's just going to sit up on the wall. And the less amount of wiring I've got, the better. So I've got these wires already on there, so I might just reuse those as the test point. For those of you that haven't hooked up a car stereo before, there's your standard positive and negative that goes to your accessories, and then you've got this yellow one here that goes to your battery, and that keeps the memory for the clock and the radio stations and all your settings and stuff like that. This one's also got a system remote control, which is basically an on-off button that used to sometimes go like to not necessarily your accessories, but to like a button on your steering wheel or something to be able to turn it on and off remotely. And then I assume the rest of them are just speaker wires by the look of them. Yeah, the rest of them are just speaker wires. So it should be fairly easy just to hook up and make it go. So I've got these cables cut back ready to go. I'll just grab, actually I'll hook those speaker wires up first, because you definitely don't want to the cables sitting loose when I hook them up. And because I don't know if it works yet, I'll just do the old wire wrap and then I'll do it properly afterwards. Because I think I'm probably just going to have the speakers literally next to the stereo system here, because it'll just be easier to manage them. And the good thing about the reason for picking this particular stereo, because I've got a couple of other ones sitting up there, this one's got an auxiliary input, so I can plug the phone in and just do the old Spotify thing. We'll just wrap these up. Definitely no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on these ones. It's even got a CD player, so I can still listen to CDs if I get that way inclined. It's even got what looks like I'm not sure if it's an input or an output on the back of it. Maybe it goes ready for a subwoofer or something. Could test that with the other with the other amplifier that I've got sitting up there and get some more speakers and make it into a fully 6 system. And I'm just going to utilise my little setup here that I made a few videos ago just to provide me with power from the battery. Obviously I'll run proper power when I put it in properly and permanently, but this will work for the meantime. Goes across a bit, get me out of the way, enough space here. Let's use that to hold on to under the terminal there, and I'll use this yellow one just to hold the negative on. Alright, moment of truth, hopefully no smoke comes out. Alright, well that's come up okay. Oh yep, we have power. So I'll just put this one in quickly. This is from So Fresh from 2004, my goodness me. Yep. Let's turn that down so I don't get a copyright strike, but that's actually worked okay. Alright, well that was the quick and easy bit. Let's get that CD out of there. But yep, there's music. No, there's noise coming out of both speakers now. I can feel the vibration out of both of them, and I was getting stereo out of that, so that's good. Alright, we'll just turn that off now. So then the next thing I've got to figure out is how I'm going to mount these speakers, because they're obviously designed, as you can see from here, there's all these mounting points, but they were just so that it would actually sit into to standoffs here. I don't have that, and I don't really want to use them. And the other problem is that I'm going to be screwing it in sort of like through here this way. I've got all these curves and all that sort of thing, which is lovely, but it's not making it very easy for me to mount it anywhere. So I'll have to see what I'm going to do for actually mounting them up. And the other thing I don't want to do is drill any holes into this part here, because that's all the actual sort of resonator for the actual speaker. So I'm just trying to keep it as original as possible. So my choices are to either build a bit of a box or a piece of wood or something to screw them up to, but the problem with that is also that these mounting points aren't at the same level, so that's really not possible. The only other spot I've really got is this middle point, which would balance it quite easily, I guess. And for that I've got these mounting brackets that came from some other speakers that were mounted at a place that were removed, so they might work. I'll have a think about if I can get those to mount up that way. Noting that I'm obviously going to have to use these two holes to screw it into the wall or the ceiling, wherever I'm putting it, up behind me here, and then this bit's going to be the bit that's going to go on the speaker itself. Alright, so one option I've got is these brackets have got these little locator tabs on them, so I might be able to, what I was thinking is I could possibly locate the little locking tabs at the top of that, and then that should maybe actually bolt up to that. So I might just grab a nut and bolt and see if it'll actually sit in there or not. So I've got these screws here, got nuts in there for them as well. They're just stupidly long, but that's what I've got, and I'm going to always try and use what I've got rather than getting something new. So I'll just grab some washers to space it out a little bit, and then we'll see how it goes. Alright, it kind of looks like it'll work okay, but the problem I've got straight away is that the bolt's too long. Alright, so as I said, I found these ones which were too long, and I've just done a bit of a quick search and actually found these ones pretty quickly, and even found the nuts to go with them. So we're going to give those ones a shot instead. So the washer doesn't look like it's quite big enough, certainly for the front part. And now these bolts aren't long enough. Goodness me. Can't win. Actually, I need to find some longer ones, but slightly longer ones than these, but I thought they were going to be too long. So I was being clever by going for the shorter ones. Plus these are an actual socket bolt. I was trying to do just a screw rather than having to use the socket set. Yeah, these ones only just fit as well. Okay, well that seems to be okay. I had to take I wanted to put a washer on the back of it as well, but I can't because it won't give me enough meat for the nut to actually bite into. There we go, well, that seems to be alright. So you can see that that's not badly bolted on there now. Seems to be holding it pretty well. It's not exactly as though it's heavy, so I've now just got to bolt it up there and see how it looks. I'll just disconnect these wires again. It seems how it's all powered down. Let's make sure of that. Alright, I figured out a spot. I think I'm going to hang it up there and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm not going to be able to do both, and you probably don't want to see the back of my head while I try not to drop a speaker on my head. Alright, so that's where I decided to put it. So as you can see, it's just literally mounted to the ceiling. Obviously the stereo will go literally next to it. I'll just figure out how I'm going to mount that as well shortly, and the other speaker will go the other side. I can't swing you around a bit because my dust extraction system is sitting right behind where the camera is. So yeah, I'll do a bit of a reset and then we'll come back in a sec. Alright, so as you can see, I've got one of the speakers up here. I'm just going to drill a hole and do the other side of that bracket because I've only got one screw up there that you can see in the top there. Just to give it a bit more stability. It's just a bit of a pain to get to because of the angles and stuff, so I'll do that one and then I'll come back. Alright, I got both screws in there now. The speaker's actually sitting up right now because it was sitting on an angle before. So next thing to do is put the stereo system actually up there. So I found these brackets when I was searching for something to mount this up with. I had a couple of ideas before. So I had a couple of other ideas before. I was going to try and use one of these or one of these. So the only problem with these ones was that there was no way to get the screw holes to line up on the side of the stereo because it was just too low when they lined up and I couldn't get anything to line up at the height that I needed up here. So that was out of the question. And there's nothing wrong with these ones. I just have to drill another hole, which wasn't a problem. But they're a 2mm thick dowel steel, and it was just going to be too hard to drill the holes. So I was just being lazy. And it's not like this weighs a ton or anything. It's only a kilo at best. So I found these ones just sitting on a shelf. So I drilled the holes in there, and I've just got a couple of these fairly fat screws to go in there because I can only have a maximum of 8mm screws in these ones because obviously it's going to interfere with the seating mechanism if I try and do something else. So I've already done that one now, so I'll just put the other one on. Alright, there we go, nice and easy. Just a couple of nice little brackets just to hold it up. So now I just need a couple of screws to hold that up. It's a little hard to see because it's a bit dark, but you can see that I'm going to be putting the stereo just there. So I'll just screw that up there and then we'll move on to the next speaker. So anyone who's put in car stereos for a living or anything, be curious to know where the weirdest place you've ever put a car stereo in is. The weirdest one for me was was actually in a tractor. A guy wanted the stereo in his tractor so that he could obviously listen to music and stuff while he was working in the fields and stuff. So that was interesting because there was no speaker spots, no stereo spots, so I had to basically build the lot. Alright, there we go. Alright, so the next speaker's been done, so I'll just put that one up as well. Alright, same again, I'll have to use the screwdriver for the other side. Alright, now just got to hook all the wiring up. Actually, I've got to get wiring for the battery. So I better do that first, hey? Not going to work very well without it. Okay, so time for some 12 volts. So I found this switch that I had, because I need a switch obviously to turn it on and off with. I found this one that I ordered for my car, but it was the wrong size. So I thought I might reuse it. And then it's got two switches on it. One looks like a very fancy, looks like a very fancy police car type one with a, I think it's for a light bar on the roof. But anyway, it's that's what we've got. Glad it didn't go in the car, I think, after all that. So I'm not sure how this is going to wire up. I'm assuming that probably these two are for lights, and then we'll have a switch common and a switch either side, because I didn't get any wiring diagrams with it. It's probably in the description of the order, but I'm not in front of the computer, so we'll just do it the old-fashioned way and hook it up until we let the smoke out, or we find where the switches are. Alright, so firstly I think I'll just test the buttons and see whether I get contact on certain spots, and then see where we go from there. So I'm just going to turn them both on, so at least I can see straight up whether I've got connection anywhere. Alright, so after a bit of measuring, we've got green and blue is one pair, that's on the unmarked switch, and then we have green and red as the other pair for the top one. So I can use that for another light switch or something in the workshop here. And then I've got black and yellow, I'm thinking maybe as the lights for this that sit behind the switch maybe. I don't think I'm going to worry about it. I might just test it just for the sake of it, just to see if it actually works. So the next thing I've got to do is cut a hole in my switch bank spot for this to go through, and then I can then hook the power up to this. What I might do first though is I've got this fuse for the stereo, so I might just hook that in first, and then I can just one less thing that I have to do when it's up there. Okay, that just covers it, which is okay. Alright, so next thing to do is going to be to punch the hole through, and what did I say I was using? Green and red. And I'll just cut the other ones off here and tape them together so they're not going to get in the way or touch anything they shouldn't. Alright, so there's the fuse and power switch for the stereo. So we'll now just turn our attention to the switch bank and cut a switch in. Okay, so here's the switch bank that I'm running. So this one's turning the lights on and off in the workshop itself. This one isn't doing anything at the moment. Oh no, that's switching this cigarette lighter plug that I've got in the back of this. This one is for the lights that show the entrance in and out of the workshop, and then this one doesn't work, so that one's not going anywhere. So that first one also has the power that I'm using for USB charging, which is also powering the camera. Just to keep it on all the time, because otherwise it goes flat pretty quick. And this is just showing a bit of an indication of charging level. So this switch is going to go sort of here, so it'll give me some expansion room here and here, and there's also space down here. So I'm not going to do this too with too much concern around accuracy at the moment. I'm happy to cut it a bit smaller and then I can just tweak it as I need to. Alright, time to grab the old multi-tool out and put a little blade on that and start some cutting. Anybody remember the old renovator tools they used to sell on the television? I guess these multi-tools are now just the next generation of that. Alright, loud noises. Alright, let's see how well I did. Not wide enough straight up. This also looks like it's designed for a thicker backboard as well. So what I might do is I might cut another hole in another piece and put that in behind it. Alright, so I just cut a second plate for this one, just to make it a little easier for it to actually lock in. There we go. It's nicely locked in there now. Now I'm just running the power that's going to the fuse down. I'm just going to hook that directly up to the power, which is going to be just here, which is my main feed line coming in off this one here. And then this one's actually the one that goes out to the stereo. I'm just wondering if I can just feed that other wire down, which is going to be easier. So I can just hook these two up and then hook that one to there. Then we can put it all back together. While I'm just waiting for the soldering iron to heat up, I'm just going to separate the wire for the power that's up by the stereo, just so that I don't accidentally short it together. Shouldn't be a problem anyway, because I think it's turned off. Well, it is turned off by the look of that, so but just to be safe, because you just never know. It's better to triple isolate everything than to blow a fuse. Okay, solder these up. One. Oops. Now I'll try and do this other one without making too much of a mess of it. Alright. Now, I'll better heat shrink that first. Alright. That's that done. Now I can push everything back in the hole. One of these days I should probably tidy it up, but that's not today. Alright, there we go. Now we can turn back to the stereo itself. Okay, so here's my wire coming down from the switch panel. So I'm just going to probably solder these two together. I'm just going to cut those off and solder them together. And everyone's going to probably tell me that I should just use plugs, but I'm a better solderer than I am a plug person, and it's not like it's actually getting too much vibration and stuff that normally hurts these. So I'm just going to solder those up and then we'll do the speakers. I was thinking of actually making it into a proper stereo, like with a fascia panel and that sort of thing. I've done it with another one, but I decided because it's sitting up here I won't bother. See how well my arms cope with hanging up in the air. Get the old noodle arms. It's a bit of a balance on these because you're either I could stand up on a ladder, but then I'm going to be probably headbutting the ceiling instead. Alright, so before I solder them, I think I'll just hit the old power button over on the switch and see if that comes up. I don't remember which one I did it on. There we go. I can hear that come up then. Oh, it's not going to work because the speakers aren't connected. Alright, that's the power. I'm going to be lazy and just take those up. I'll just pull this one out, because I'm not using that one. And now I'll just trim these down so that they don't go as far. I don't have 10 miles of cable hanging around. That wasn't a bad effort. I've actually managed to cut them pretty much exactly together. Then we've got the old age argument about which cable you should use, whether you should use stripe for positive or stripe for negative. I think when I was doing stuff, everything was, the stripe was positive, but these days, sorry, the stripe was negative, but these days it seems to be stripe positive. A lot of the transformers and stuff I see seem to be more stripe positive than stripe negative. I'm just going to go stripe to stripe because I've got a stripe on this one and I'll put it to the stripe on this one. That's my only reason. At least if I wire it consistently, then it should be alright. It's not like I'm doing audio for a concert or anything. It's just the workshop. These ones, I don't even know which one's left and right here. Would not have a clue. There's my stripe. There's my stripe. I've got black stripe to white stripe. Oh dear. Alright, I'm just going to take these up. Last but not least, just the power. Probably should have done that first. Just realised I probably could have unplugged the connector out of the back of the stereo too. That would have been a bit logical. But I don't want to now because I want to put all the cables together. And Alright, well I'm not quite sure what happened there before, but the switch decided to fail. So I just spent a little while chasing down what that problem was. I didn't think those switches were fused or anything, so obviously I've just had a very unlucky fuse failure, but sorry, switch failure. Luckily I've got another switch, but it's what am I doing now? So apparently I'm running my compressor now. Anywho, you can hear that's working now. So all I can do is just tidy everything up again, and that'll be right again. Alright, well thanks for watching until the end on this one. Got a nice little simple stereo here now for listening to music in the workshop when I'm not talking to all you guys. Obviously the CD player that's over there now will go to charity, and they can sell it on to someone who wants to use a big 5 carousel CD player. I'll keep the amplifier because that's a nice little amplifier. I'll find something else to do with that, or maybe one day I'll decide that I've had enough of keeping it and I'll move it on as well. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to have a chat to me about it in the comments. Tell me what you think of it. Give it a like. And to see more of my content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.